let's switch over to the running game and, let's pour one out for our friend Sony Michel, who's never going to carry a ball again.
I don't know about that.
Anyway, Sony Michel conveniently goes on IR just in time for Damien Harris to come off of it. And so now you've got this was okay, look, Patriots fans have been dying for this because nothing personal against Sony. We've seen enough of him to know who he is.
Right.
Slow plodding runner, gets what's blocked, can't break the big run. Encouraging things last week, sure, but at this point, there's no mystery anymore with what Sony Michel is. He's not a game-breaking, game-changing talent. He's a jag. And so in a team that's sorely lacking for playmakers, you're just hoping that you have one in Harris, who we hadn't really seen. And again, it's one game, got a huge run on that touchdown drive, which make the numbers look even more impressive. But he looked like he was running with a great deal more burst than what we'd seen from Sony on a lot of his carries. And in fact, it looked like he was close to popping a couple. And he could, I'm not saying he left it on the table, but he almost got through the line of scrimmage a couple of times and broke off big ones. And the threat of that alone makes you a much more dangerous team, especially if you're going to be playing this bully ball style, because it's one thing to 4-yard, 5-yard, 6-yard people to death, up the field. It's another when if you get that hole, you could pop it into the secondary and you got a guy who could go. That makes you feel a little bit better. And Harris definitely looked more like that guy than anybody else they have on their roster.
Yeah, he did exactly what we saw out of him in training camp, which is that, it took him some time to break that big run, but eventually he broke off that 41-yarder, and everyone kind of saw what we were all hyping up in camp is that second gear. That little bit more burst than I think what Sony Michel has. He's not Chris Johnson, he's not running away from the defense and burning the top off or anything like that, but he's got a little bit more burst through the line of scrimmage. The one thing I thought early on in the game, I don't know if it was just him getting back used to live action or whatnot, but his vision was a little bit suspect early on.
Yep.
Could have made some cuts off of Jakob Johnson to the outside and bounced it a few times. I thought that usually we would have seen Damien Harris do that. I think early on in the game, he was kind of just following Jakob wherever he was going to go.
But
that
again,
was kind of the call. And
first game, no preseason for anybody, and starting on IR, I guess it's to be understood a little bit. You're just jumping right in there and going.
Absolutely, and that's the break I'll give him. And then finally, on the 41-yarder, it's a cross-lead play. So instead of leading it straight through the hole, Jakob Johnson's crossing to the other side, and it's basically designed to hit backside, right? You want to get the defense to flow to that direction, but the one thing that you need to have is the running back needs to press the hole behind the fullback like he's leading with Jakob Johnson. He's going to go right behind him. His running back, his track is going to take him right behind Jakob, and that's what gets the second level of the defense to basically out-leverage itself, right, is to flow to the left sideline, and then you can make that cut backside. And that play is exactly designed to hit where he hit it. And the patience and sort of the understanding of what his footsteps for the first 3 steps before his cut mean to that defense to manipulate those defenders. Again, that's everything that we saw from Damien Harris in camp. So no, he's not Barry Sanders. He's not Chris Johnson. He's not going to run for 80-yard touchdowns and all that kind of stuff. But he's got the same sort of vision and balance as Sony Michel, but a little bit more burst.
A little bit more juice.
1-yarder, just a little bit more up the field. So that was all great signs. Their sub-package runs worked really successfully. James White averaged 7 yards a carry on those.
Everybody across the board, they're 5.3 as a team. White 7 yards per carry. Burkhead, I think, was 5 also? 4.1 for Burkhead, 185 yards, 5.3 average as a team. And again, you're talking about doing this down Shaq Mason, and then you lost another lineman during the game.
Right.
So
Isaiah Wynn's in and out. Jermaine Illuminor has a migraine and
and he's out early. So you're
I'm pretty sure Jermaine Illuminor has a migraine issue. Like that's a
thing,
a health issue for him. So no surprise that might pop up. It's just a terrible timing, obviously, for it to pop up.
So you're seeing. That was, and obviously you're without Andrews. That was patchwork. And again, only 2 sacks, and one of them was at least one of them was obviously self-induced by Hoyer, who held the ball for 17 seconds. And really being able to run the ball at a time where you really expected Kansas City to, expect you to run the ball, because they didn't really.
On a bad run defense, and they were successful in doing so. Kansas City came into this game ranked 30th in DVOA against the run. They weren't really able to stop Lamar Jackson's running game until the score got out of hand, and Baltimore had to start throwing the football to get back in the game. So if you can keep it close like the Patriots did, you can grind down this Kansas City team, and they were pretty darn close to doing that. There one Edelman drop snafu and a couple of fewer mistakes by Brian Hoyer early on in the game, taking those sacks, and all of a sudden this game looks a lot different. And of course, the interception that wasn't, and those types of plays by the refs as well. I don't know how you could have expected a better effort given the circumstances. The score being 26-10, I said it once, I'll say it again, it means absolutely nothing to me. I really don't think this was a 26-10 game. This was a close, nail-biting game that a few really costly errors by the Patriots, mainly out of Brian Hoyer, one out of Julian Edelman, made this game feel like a 16-point.
And it wasn't.